Former President Donald Trump told John Deere leaders he would change the financial landscape if they moved manufacturing out of the United States.
Trump announced that he will destroy John Deere if they plan on doing this. It's a statement that packs a punch. It is a serious warning to John Deere regarding their manufacturing strategies, particularly concerning their production facilities. Will John Deere heed the warning and reconsider their strategies? Or will they push forward with their plans, irrespective of the political ramifications? And what exactly is Trump referring to, and why does it matter? What is happening exactly? See, John Deere's packing up their things and production from Dubuque, Iowa, and shipping it off to a shiny new facility in Ramos Arizpe, Mexico. And get this, they're planning to have it all done by the end of 2026. They've got their eyes on the prize, streamlining their business and cranking up their efficiency. And what better way to do that than by tapping into Mexico's booming labor force? This new facility isn't just a pretty face either. It's set to give John Deere some serious flexibility and a competitive edge in the global market for their construction and forestry division. Now, this isn't just some random move. It's part of a bigger picture where manufacturing companies are playing a gamble, trying to cut costs and dodge those pesky rising expenses in the good USA. But what about the folks back in Dubuque? They're staring down the barrel of job uncertainty and wondering what the heck's gonna happen to their beloved facility. And the layoff train has already left the station, with over 120 production workers in Moline getting handed their walking papers indefinitely. Why? Because John Deere's on a mission to make sure their workforce matches their production needs like a glove. But here's where it gets juicy. The timing of these layoffs has got people raising their eyebrows. Announcing job cuts right before the holidays? Not a good look. And to add insult to injury, CEO John May scored a fat raise while workers were getting the axe. Talk about a disconnect between the bigwigs and the boots on the ground. Now, other companies in the industry are watching John Deere's move like hawks. If this pays off, we could see a domino effect of relocations as everyone scrambles to keep costs in check. But here's the kicker. This trend is raising some serious questions about job security and manufacturing across the US. As more and more companies get bitten by the offshoring bug, workers are left wondering if their jobs are safe. It's like a giant game of Jenga, and nobody knows when the tower is going to come crashing down. So what's the solution, and what is Trump going to do about this? But before we dive into that, subscribe and hit that bell icon so don't miss any videos like these. Donald Trump's threat and rationale. Let's dive into a significant moment that happened in September 2024. Former President Donald Trump, at a lively campaign event in Pennsylvania, made an intense announcement that sent shockwaves through the agricultural community. He didn't hold back. He issued a serious ultimatum to John Deere, one of the biggest players in the agricultural machinery game. Trump threatened a staggering 200% tariff on all products made by John Deere in Mexico. Now, why does this matter? Trump's focus was on crucial machinery like skid steer loaders and compact track loaders. These aren't just any machines. They are lifelines for countless farmers and agricultural operations across the United States. By making these products extremely pricey, Trump's ultimate goal is crystal clear. He wants to nudge consumers toward choosing American-made equipment instead. See, it all boils down to his passionate commitment to defending American manufacturing jobs. Trump firmly believes that tariffs are vital tools that can keep businesses from taking their operations abroad. He's been pretty vocal about this, famously stating, "It's hurting our farmers, it's hurting our manufacturing." That sentiment strikes a chord with his political supporters, particularly those working class folks who feel the squeeze from globalization's relentless tide. By positioning his tariff policy as a protective shield for American jobs, Trump taps into that widespread feeling of national pride and the need for economic security. This protectionist approach is tightly woven into his well-known America First strategy. It resonates powerfully with core supporters, especially in areas where manufacturing jobs have dwindled due to offshoring. For many, Trump's words aren't just talk, they are a battle cry against foreign competition that threatens livelihoods. His rhetoric reinforces the belief that putting American interests ahead of everything else is crucial in an economy that is becoming increasingly globalized. Trump's historical use of tariffs has focused heavily on foreign competitors, particularly China. His administration took bold steps with trade wars, pushing other nations to adopt trade practices that would be more favorable to American producers. For him, imposing tariffs is a about leveling the playing field for US manufacturers, who often find themselves competing against foreign goods that are heavily subsidized. His stance is that tariffs are essential to ensure fair competition and protect domestic industries from being overwhelmed by cheaper imports flooding the market. But hold on, despite Trump's strong assertions about the benefits of tariffs, this approach isn't without its critics. Critics point out that tariffs ultimately lead to inflated prices for goods, which can hit consumers hard, especially farmers who are already navigating tight profit margins. Imagine a 200% tariff making crucial John Deere machinery unaffordable. It could force farmers to postpone buying equipment or hunt for alternatives that might not meet their needs. Moreover, we can't ignore the potential disruption to established supply chains that are vital for keeping agricultural operations running smoothly. Picture a scenario where delays in getting equipment or parts occur because customs is bogged down due to tariff-related issues. The consequences during critical planting or harvesting seasons could be utterly dire. Think of a farmer unable to fix a broken down tractor because the essential part is stuck in customs. The unpredictability of trade policies also creates a tricky environment for investors and businesses. This uncertainty can freeze long-term investments and hinder innovation in industries that depend on a stable market. Farmers may hesitate to dive into buying new technologies or expanding their operations if there's no clarity about future costs or access to markets. As we ponder whether Trump's threat represents a viable policy or is simply a political stunt aimed at making a splash, we see that while his rhetoric might resonate with his supporters, the practicality of enforcing such a high tariff is very much up for debate. Economists are ringing warning bells, suggesting that while these tariffs are meant to shield US jobs, they could unwittingly hurt American farmers and manufacturers by driving up operational costs and complicating trade with critical partners like Mexico. And let's not forget history. Past instances show that such threats don't always achieve the desired effect, as companies might carry on with their plans despite any political pressure. But what's the impact on John Deere? Let's break this down. Now, there is no doubt that John Deere is a significant player in the manufacturing industry. In the fiscal year of 2024, the company reported a net income of approximately $7 billion, down from $7.7 billion the previous year, reflecting the challenges faced in the global agricultural sector. This decline comes despite a robust performance in prior years, showcasing a resilient yet fluctuating market environment. Net sales and revenues for the first 9 months of 2024 decreased by 11%, totaling $40,572 billion, compared to $45 billion in 2023. The company's equipment operations net sales were around $35.4 billion, indicating a significant drop due to supply chain disruptions and shifting demand patterns. This situation has prompted John Deere to pivot more heavily towards parts and services, as equipment sales have shown signs of decline. The looming threat of tariffs remains a critical concern for John Deere as it navigates these market fluctuations. The decision to either absorb increased costs or focus on maintaining market share could have profound implications for its pricing strategies and customer relationships, particularly with farmers who operate on tight profit margins. Despite these challenges, investor confidence in John Deere has remained relatively strong. Following its recent earnings report, shares saw an uptick, reflecting optimism about the company's long-term strategy and commitment to innovation. However, even unimplemented tariff threats can create volatility in stock prices, as seen during previous trade disputes. Despite the difficult landscape, John Deere's leadership remains committed to investing in innovative technologies and solutions. CEO John May emphasized the importance of adapting to customer needs while navigating these turbulent times. The company's forecast for fiscal 2024 indicates a cautious optimism, suggesting that while challenges persist, there is still potential for recovery and growth in the future. So what options does John Deere have in the face of Trump's tariff threats? One straightforward path is to bring production back to the United States, a way to sidestep tariffs completely. But there's a major catch. This move contradicts their cost-saving strategy for shifting operations to Mexico, where labor costs are significantly lower. It's estimated that labor costs in Mexico clock in at about $3 to $4 per hour, while in the US the figures range from $25 to $30 per hour. That's a huge difference. There's also the possibility of lobbying and legal battles. John Deere might consider challenging the legality of these tariffs. The company has demonstrated its willingness to engage in legal disputes, especially regarding the right to repair movement. Sure, these legal maneuvers can be time-consuming and expensive, but they might serve to safeguard the company's interests down the line. Another route could be to pass on the increased cost by raising prices. However, this comes with its own risks. Farmers who already face financial pressures could be pushed away by hefty price hikes. A lot of farmers operate with profit margins as slim as 10%, making them extremely sensitive to any price increases. An uptick in prices could drive them to competitors who don't have to deal with the same tariff challenges. It's also important to consider the potential damage to John Deere's reputation among patriotic consumers. If people perceive the company as abandoning American workers in favor of cheaper labor abroad, customer loyalty is at serious risk. In an industry where personal relationships matter just as much as the products themselves, losing that trust could be devastating. Interestingly enough, Trump's tariff threat could also kickstart some innovation within John Deere. External pressures often push companies to think outside the box. This might lead them to invest in automation or develop more efficient manufacturing processes that don't hinge on low-cost labor. Moreover, there's an ongoing debate about whether relying on government protection through tariffs could stifle true market-driven solutions. If John Deere leans heavily on tariffs to shield itself from foreign competition, they might become less inclined to innovate or enhance their efficiency in the long run. This could ultimately hinder their growth and adaptability in an ever-evolving market. By breaking down these various angles, it's clear that John Deere stands at a crossroads filled with both financial pressures and strategic decisions in light of Trump's tariff threats. The choices they make will shape not only their future, but could also set the tone for broader trends in American manufacturing and agriculture as they navigate a world that's becoming more interconnected each day. But what about the farmers? Now, we have brushed upon how American farmers are barely scraping by with profit margins that are razor thin, often hovering between 1 to 5%. This varies depending on the crop and the current market conditions. Now imagine this. What if the government slaps a 200% tariff on John Deere equipment? This would literally send the cost of crucial farming machinery through the roof. For example, a brand new John Deere tractor, which typically rings in at around $200,000, might skyrocket to an unbelievable $600,000 with those tariffs in play. That kind of price increase would severely limit farmers' ability to invest in the gear they need to succeed. This in turn could dramatically affect their productivity and ultimately their profitability. But it's not just tractors we're talking about. John Deere is a lifeline for farmers in more ways than one. Remember what they are known for. Roughly 30% of John Deere's entire sales come from parts and services. This shows just how critical affordable components are for farmers who depend on them for everything, from routine maintenance to emergency repairs. If tariffs end up jacking up the costs of these parts, farmers may find themselves in a tough spot, struggling to afford the repairs or replacements they need. Consider a farmer on the brink of harvest who needs a replacement part for their combine harvester. Delays in getting that part due to tariff-related price hikes could lead to a catastrophic crop yield loss. The financial burden on farmers is getting worse, especially with the current inflation rates. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, input costs for farmers have already surged by 20% over the past year due to inflation. So the thought of additional expenses from tariffs is a daunting prospect that's weighing heavily on farmers' minds. And let's talk about the logistical headaches that arise from tariffs. These could really mess with established supply chains. During the crucial planting season, timing is everything, and farmers need quick access to specific machinery parts. If those parts get delayed because of customs issues stemming from tariffs, the ripple effects can cause significant operational setbacks. Let's take a real-life example to illustrate this. Picture a soybean farmer in Iowa who faced hiccups in getting essential components for his planting equipment during a past trade conflict. His machinery got stuck in customs due to the new tariffs slapped on imported parts, leading to a frustrating 2-week delay in planting. This setback didn't just affect his yield potential, it also cranked up his operational costs because he lost valuable time and labor hours. And it doesn't stop there. The repercussions of such delays can expand beyond just one farm. If several farmers in a particular area encounter the same issues, this could lead to decreased supply availability in local markets. The resulting scarcity could push prices up for consumers, further squeezing farmers' already tight margins. But we need to talk about this in detail, so let's do that. Market volatility. The ever-changing nature of trade policies creates a climate of uncertainty that can put a halt on farmers' long-term investment plans. When tariffs are on the table, many farmers become skeptical about purchasing new equipment or expanding their operations, worrying that rising costs and volatile markets could bite them. Take a trip back to the 2018 to 2019 trade war with China, for instance. Many farmers hit the brakes on buying new tractors or even increasing their acreage because they had no clue how future market conditions might unfold or whether they'd face retaliatory tariffs on their agricultural exports. According to a survey by the American Farm Bureau Federation, an eye-opening 60% of farmers expressed concerns over how trade policies might impact their business choices. This hesitation doesn't just stall individual farmers, it can halt innovation across the agricultural sector as a whole. When farmers pull back from investing in new technologies or sustainable farming practices because they're unsure about upcoming costs and market access, it hampers progress for the entire industry. Now, let's discuss another crucial factor: the risk of retaliatory tariffs. If Trump's proposed tariffs on John Deere products push costs higher for American farmers, countries like Mexico might retaliate with their own tariffs on United States agricultural exports. Looking back to 2018, when the United States slapped tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, Mexico responded by imposing nearly $3 billion worth of tariffs on U.S. agricultural goods, including staples like pork and cheese, two big-ticket items for American farmers. The ramifications were significant. For example, pork producers faced a harsh 25% tariff, resulting in substantial financial losses as they lost access to one of their primary markets. If we see a repeat of similar retaliatory actions due to Trump's tariff threats against John Deere, American farmers could find themselves in even deeper trouble. The U.S.-Mexico trade relationship is absolutely vital. In 2022, U.S. agricultural exports to Mexico were valued at more than $28.4 billion. If Mexico were to slap tariffs on U.S. goods in retaliation, it could have dire repercussions for American farmers, leading down a slippery slope of declining income. See, one company's decision can have a rippling effect. But folks, we barely covered the main issue here. You see, while the tariff debate is taking front and center stage, there is one issue that has got farmers worried, and it is about control and how the whole sector is evolving. This is beyond John Deere. Right to repair movement. Buckle up, folks, because there's a full-blown battle brewing between farmers and John Deere, and it's about way more than just tariffs. This fight is part of a bigger trend that's got the whole automotive industry scratching their heads. Picture this. You've got a gadget or machine that you use every single day, right? But who's really calling the shots when it comes to fixing it? That's where the right to repair movement comes in. Guns blazing. These folks are all about making sure that you, the consumer, have the power to get your hands on the tools, parts, and juicy info you need to DIY your repairs. And when it comes to farmers and their equipment, this movement is a total game changer. See, farmers have always been the kind of people who roll up their sleeves and fix their own stuff. It's just part of the job. Being able to repair their machinery on the fly is what keeps them going, especially during those make or break planting and harvesting seasons. But here's the problem. As farm equipment has gotten more and more high-tech, big shots like John Deere have started throwing up roadblocks that make it a total nightmare for farmers to take care of their own repairs. This isn't just some minor inconvenience we're talking about here. It's a massive hurdle that's messing with how farmers do their thing day in and day out. And get this, a survey by the United States Public Interest Research Group dropped a bombshell. They found out that if farmers could just get their hands on the repair tools and materials they need, they could save a mind-blowing $4.2 billion every single year on downtime and repair costs. Yeah, you read that right. This just goes to show how insanely important the right to repair movement really is. It's not just about consumer rights. It's about making sure that American agriculture can keep on thriving without breaking the bank. So now, let's dive into the juicy details of John Deere's repair restrictions and the backlash they're facing. This company has been getting hit with criticism left and right for making it ridiculously hard for farmers to fix their own machines. A big chunk of the problem comes from sneaky software locks and farmers not being able to get their hands on diagnostic tools. These software locks aren't just some tiny speed bump, they're deeply embedded in modern tractors and other farm machinery, effectively slamming the door in farmers' faces when they try to access the critical software software they need to figure out what's wrong and fix it themselves. In fact, get this, there was even a class action lawsuit thrown at John Deere in January 2022. The accusation that the company was creating an illegal monopoly over the repair market. The case specifically called out how John Deere's use of engine control units is making life a total headache for farmers and independent mechanics. So farmers are stuck between a rock and a hard place. They've got two options and neither of them are pretty. They can either try to hack their way into their own tractors, which is a whole other can of worms, or fork over a ton of cash for expensive dealership services that take forever and a day. Talk about being stuck in a pickle. The latest lawsuit against John Deere reveals a disturbing trend. The document states that newer generations of Deere's agricultural equipment are designed to monopolize the repair market, making essential software and tools completely inaccessible. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it directly impacts farmers' rights and livelihoods. What's even more alarming is John Deere's strong opposition to proposed laws aimed at improving transparency and facilitating access for independent repair shops. It feels like a double whammy. Not only are farmers being squeezed, but they're also dealing with a corporate giant that profits immensely from selling parts and services, sometimes earning 3 to 6 times more than from the actual sale of the equipment. That's a hefty conflict of interest. Now, let's talk about the positive changes brewing. States across the country are stepping up to address these issues. Colorado has led the way with its right to repair law, which was implemented in 2021. This groundbreaking legislation mandates that manufacturers provide necessary diagnostic tools and repair information, leveling the playing field for farmers and independent mechanics trying to keep that agricultural equipment running smoothly. Groups like the United States Public Interest Research Group are really excited about this movement, arguing that these right to repair laws will not only lower costs for farmers, but also prolong the life of their equipment through better maintenance. I mean, who wouldn't want to save money while keeping their trusty machines in top shape? However, the fight is far from over. The class action lawsuit against John Deere is just a piece of a much larger puzzle. For example, a farm in North Dakota is also taking legal action, accusing John Deere of violating antitrust laws with its monopolistic practices, which disrupt fair competition. It's like a domino effect of farmers standing up for their rights. And organizations like the Software Freedom Conservancy are getting in on the action too. They're pushing for John Deere to release essential source code that would allow farmers to repair their own machines. The Software Freedom Conservancy director Denver Gingerick highlighted the urgency of this situation in a blog post, emphasizing that delays could lead to catastrophic losses for farmers during crucial times of the season. If something isn't done soon, the consequences could be dire. These legal challenges showcase just how much reform is needed, not only in agricultural machinery, but also in the broader consumer electronics market. As people become more aware of these issues, we can expect even more states to rally for right to repair legislation, potentially transforming consumer rights in America. The right to repair movement is about so much more than just fixing machines. It's a fight for autonomy, fairness, and sustainable farming in an industry too often controlled by corporate interests. Farmers are making some noise, and they're stressing the importance of regaining control over their tools. In an increasingly complex agricultural landscape, the ability to repair equipment isn't just a luxury, it's vital to their independence and success.